wife being there. I could have her there for the whole tour if I wanted. We toured for a year. She could have been out on the road with me for the whole year if she wanted, but I just let her choose. Whenever you want to come out, let me know, and I'll make sure that it all goes smoothly. At that level, it's not a problem, and it's not a problem now. Even, you know, I've been working with Albert Hammond for the last 3 years around Europe. That was good. That was comfortable. And my wife Mary was allowed to come anywhere she wanted, and she enjoyed it. She enjoyed going to places like Leipzig or Berlin or Hamburg, you know, for a weekend. And I was delighted that we were able to do that.
I got you. That's beautiful. And then came the Camel period came together. Feel free to elaborate how you end up working with Camel. You contribute not just with, you know, bass, but vocals as well. I recently interviewed Colin Bass.
Yeah, I saw that.
He sent his regards as well. You know.
Oh, that's very nice of him.
He's a very good person, like you. You know, very good person. Very, you know, they have a good heart. You know, you seem like the person who is a very decent human being. You know.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I know. I was working in Abbey Road Studios with Alan Parsons when Camel, Andy Latimer in particular, were working in the studio as well. Andy was Andy's wife are big Alan Parsons Project fans. And of course they knew all the bass playing I had done on these albums. So when I met Andy in the canteen at Abbey Road, he said, would you be available to work on our next album? And unfortunately I wasn't. Can't remember which album it was. But I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that album. I said, but keep me in mind, you know. And when they recorded the Next Again album, they asked me to get involved, and I was able to do it. So I thought, this is a great band. I really like Camel. I really like Andy Latimer. He's a lovely guy. And I enjoyed being with that band as well. And we toured a lot with that band, but I kept the relationship going with him for years. When he moved to San Francisco, he invited me out to sing on a couple of these albums. You know, so the whole time with Camel was just a joy. I really, really enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the musicianship. I enjoyed the lifestyle with them. Just, you know, being a gigging musician, it's just can't be beat.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to like both. You need to like, you know, like the people that you're working with, and you're gonna pay good money and to pay your bills and have a good friendship, right? I mean, they can pay you all the money in the world, but in the case with fish, you're gonna be taking a bus or sleep on the bus at 3 o'clock in the morning in Lithuania. You know, you might say, "Man, I don't want to do that. I'm 30 years old. I'm done with that life." You know.
Yeah, it's tough, you know, and I thought I'd left all that behind when I was a teenager.
That's right, yeah. And with Camel, you end up working very good albums. The Single Factor, Stationary Traveler, Harbor of Tears. That's very good music, man. Very good music.
I loved Andy's songwriting and how he put his songs together. It was just a joy to be in the studio with him and watching him being creative. Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah, Camel I think will go on the tour in March, and they will start playing in Spain. I think they will do 5 gigs in Spain, and then they go to the UK and Ireland.
Yeah, they're coming here. They're coming to Edinburgh. So,
yeah. So when I will be. I like band. I like so many bands. My wife complained that I have an expensive taste. Because I travel. You know, I went to London twice this year to see the last 3 shows of Genesis, and then I went to see Eric Clapton and so on, and they're going to be traveling to see Camel, of course, and so when I'm there, you know, we need to get together for dinner, or a beer, or wine, whatever. You know, I will bring you some. You're a beer type of guy or wine type of guy?
I'm a wine kind of guy.
Okay, I will bring you some from Chile. I need to bring you some Chilean wine, which is very well known. So.
Oh, it's fantastic! Yeah.
Stuff you couldn't get in your country, and then then Rick Wakeman period. You did a couple singles, and you work in many studio albums, especially the one in the classical connection with Chris Squire, Bill Bruford, Steve Howe. No, those are, as I told you at the beginning of the conversation, you are so humble, David. You have played with the best of the best, man. One day you want to look back in your life, and say, you will tell your wife, man, I did okay. I played with the best musician that the whole world has to offer. I did okay financially. I can die happy, man.
I do have to pinch myself occasionally and think, did that actually happen, or did I dream it?
Well, let me put the vinyl to see my name still there, because as you get older, you don't recall stuff, it's hard to, what's up there? Oh, go to YouTube, look at Spotify, my name is there, so I did it.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually writing my memoirs at the moment. In fact, it's due to be released in November.
Really?
And when you start remembering bits, it jogs your memory, and other things come into your head, and you say, that led on to that led on to that. And it's great having a discography. I've got one on my website, and I can look at the discography and I can tell, what albums were when and what was happening at that time. So I can go through it all chronologically, and it all makes sense, all falls into place. And that's fun. That brings it all back when you start recalling events that happened and who you worked with, and even the Jimmy Page stuff as well. I'd forgotten all about that, and then it all suddenly started to flood back.
Yeah, hopefully this interview that is a kind of more than interview, a conversation about music can help you out bringing all the memory, because on purpose I'm covering I didn't know you were writing yourself an autobiography, but I'm trying to cover all the good, the bad, and the ugly, they say here, say about playing with different bands, being on the road, stuff like that. And feel free to elaborate how you end up working with, Rick Wakeman, and how you end up working with him, how it's like to work with him, and those works.
There was a studio near where I lived in Berkshire in England, and I would go along there occasionally. And the guy that ran the studio managed Rick Wakeman. And I was recording some of my own songs, and he said to me, Rick's looking for a bass player. Would you be interested in working with Rick? I said, yeah, sure. He said, well, he's halfway through recording an album. I think it was The Time Machine. And he said, why don't you come along next week and play a bass part on one of the songs? I said, okay. So I arrived at the studio, and Rick was working on a song. And what Rick's like, he'll write a song and the tempo might be 7/8 or 5/4 or, something strange. And I was listening to this piece of music and thinking, wow, that's a tough song. And he turned around and he saw me and he said, oh, hello, you must be David. Nice to meet you. This is the song you're going to be playing bass on, by the way. And I thought, wow. And I said, have you got a chord chart? He says, no, just sit down and play along to it. And he said, I'm going away. I've got stuff to do. Just play. So he left me with the engineer, and I was listening to the song and thinking, God, this is a really tough song, especially as there's no notation, So I did eventually work through it, and he was delighted with the bass part. And he said, I'd like you to play on more of this album. He said, you play guitar as well, don't you? I said, yeah, I play guitar. So, will you play guitar too? I said, sure, whatever you want, Rick. And we had a great friendship for a while. I was touring around the UK mainly with Rick, with his the English rock ensemble, which is ironic because I'm Scottish, but there you go. So we toured a lot as the Rick Wakeman and the English rock ensemble. One evening, Rick said to me, we were playing in a seaside town down the south coast of England. And he said, will you come for a walk with me? I want to put something to you. I said, sure. So we went for a walk along the promenade. It was very memorable because it was a beautiful, calm, warm night, and the sea was lashing against the rocks. And he said to me, I want to do some solo stuff. He said, I would like to have my music interpreted in a kind of classical way. He said, so I want to put an album together called The Classical Connection. And he said, I don't want to tour with a band. I just want to tour with you, just the two of us.
Yeah.
He said, you play bass and classical guitar, and I'll do all the keyboards. And what do you think? I said, well, that sounds great, Rick. I said, to get a raise, are you going to give me more money? Oh, no, he said, I can't do that. He said, there's a lot of overheads involved in this. I can't give you any more money. I said, well, that seems a bit unfair. I said, you've got a Rolls Royce in your garage.
That's right.
He says, well, David, you can be a poor man even though you've got a Rolls Royce, which I didn't believe for a minute. So anyway, we did a lot of tours together. I think we did 2 albums of Classical Connections. And there's a lot of video footage of these concerts on YouTube in particular. And, despite his frugality, I had a great time with him. And again, I did it because I loved it. And I loved working with Rick. And I loved the music, how it kind of pushed me to the edge of my limits. You're playing with such an accomplished musician. He pushed me and he got the best out of me as well because of that. So it was most enjoyable, a really enjoyable time.
And then you end up working with Keats. I mean, feel free to elaborate on the creating Keats with members from Alan Parsons and Peter Barden of Camel. I listened to that album. That's a great album. Perhaps it's not, the album from 1984 and that was reissued later on. It's not that popular, I think, but I really like it. It's a very, very good album.
Yeah, we had high hopes with that album and another album, but it didn't happen. I'd met Pete Burdens while I was doing a single factor with Camel. He came in and guested on one of the songs. And of course, Colin Blunstone, I knew it was all the Parsons guys, the project guys. And it was Eric Wilson's idea to put this band together. One of his favourite restaurants that we would go and eat at after our sessions at Abbey Road was a place called Keats Restaurant.
Yeah. And
that's how we got the name Keats. And we just got together and Eric put forward his idea. Just you guys get together, write songs and together or apart, and hopefully, we'll have a lot of success. And we did think it was going to be successful. All the ingredients were there. And we thought we'd written a lot of good songs for the album. But unfortunately, it didn't take off. And we didn't stay focused on it. We had so many distractions at that time, so many other artists to work with, that we didn't put our energies into Keats. So there was just the one album. And I believe it's quite a sought-after, rare album as it is. So, it's good to have that legacy.
Yeah, it's a very good album. And I listened to the stuff that had been reissued a couple of times already. I don't have the album, but I was thinking, right, that you need to make a decision, right? We can put all the energy and try to do a second album, Keats, or return this 10 phone call that people keep on calling me to do this, to do that, and that is sure thing. Well, I need to pay the bills. I will ignore that. That may be a headache and may not pan out, right? Or I can go with a sure thing and start returning the phone call of people that call me to work in that, or that, right? So unfortunately, sometimes you're lucky that you can be, picky and choosy, right? Who you work with. Other musicians, they only have plan A, right? Wait, we need to make this happen,
Yeah, well, it was a busy time at that time in the 80s, a very busy time. So yeah, there was a lot going on, not just for me, but for everybody in the band.
All of them were, exactly, all of them were in the band. They were at the same time, like a social network, right? All of them are working in different bands, and so they got called as well to do other stuff, So
of course.
Feel free to elaborate on the period working with Elton John in the 80s, Ice on Fire, Jacket, Live in Australia. Those are very good bands. I know. I know you must have a lot of very good memories from working with Mr. Elton John, man. I never met the guy. I have seen him many times. But,
yeah, it was a bit like being in Disneyland for 3 years.
Really?
It was like a dream because I never knew who I was going to meet next. You know, I met people like Princess Diana and Sylvester Stallone and Roy Orbison and loads of people, George Harrison. I met all these people because of Elton and because of working with them. But not only that, you know, I was working with one of the best musicians, composers of our time. Yeah. And he'll be remembered in the same way that Mozart's remembered, you know, I would imagine. So to be asked to play with Elton was a real honour. As I said earlier, you know, to write a number one as a songwriter, it's the top. That you don't get much better than that. And that's what every songwriter wants to achieve. But to work with a legend such as Elton John as a musician, well, that fulfilled me as a musician. And it was a great honour to work with him. And I was with him for 3 years and I enjoyed every minute of it. And unfortunately, when he asked me to go back with him, I was working with Rick, and Rick was about to start a tour. We'd rehearsed for it, and then I got a call from Elton's drummer saying, "Can you do a tour with Elton?" I said, "I can't. I've just started with Rick Wakeman. If I leave now, Rick will be in real trouble because, you know, we're ready to go on the tour." So I said no to him. But, you know, I didn't want to spend the rest of my life being Elton John's bass player. I'm happy that I had the 3 years with him. I'm happy that I worked with Rick. I'm happy I worked with McCartney. I'm happy I worked with all these people I've worked with.
Although Elton perhaps would have paid twice the hourly rate or whatever that Rick Wakeman would have paid. So it wasn't the money. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, plus the other lifestyle that Elton John, you're traveling, I don't know, first class and nice hotel, and, you know, so it's everything that comes with, you know, so.
Yeah, I suppose I'm quite a loyal kind of person, you know,
Good, man.
And I wouldn't have wanted to let Rick down. I've made that mistake a couple of times, you know, I've turned people down because I felt like I should commit to what I'm already committed to. Chrissie Hynde asked me to join the Pretenders while I was working with Fish, and it was the same scenario. Fish was about to start a tour when I did a session for Chrissie Hynde, and I did her song "I'll Stand By You." I played on that, and she asked me to join the band. I said, "I can't, you know, I've just started working with Fish and I can't let them down." And again, you know, I think my life would have been totally different if I had said, "Okay, I'll join the Pretenders." Yeah, but I didn't. I have no regrets about that because I'm happy with the way it went anyway.
Yeah. Feel free to elaborate with your relationship and working relationship with Paul McCartney and then, you know, Jimmy Page as well, man. No many people know that you have, you know, worked with them. So
I know. Again, I was working with Alan Parsons in Abbey Road when McCartney walked into the studio and said, "I hear we have some Scottish voices here. I'm recording a song called Mulligan Tire, and I'd like some Scottish voices. Will you come along to the studio and sing with me on this song?" He said, "I'll give you a dram." That was his words. "I'll give you a dram." You know what a dram is?
No.
A whiskey.
Ram. Oh, okay, got you.
A whiskey. Okay. So, yeah, well, I've been a huge fan of McCartney since I heard the Beatles. And you know, kind of imagined I was McCartney sometimes. And when I wrote my songs, I always had McCartney in mind when I was writing my songs. I wanted to be like him. He was my role model. And to be asked by him to sing on his song, wow, I was blown away.
How can you say no, right?
Yeah. I know, standing in Studio 2 in Abbey Road with Paul McCartney beside me with our headphones on, singing together. You know, it's just the tops. That's just a wonderful experience. And after we finished singing the song, Linda and Paul spoke to me and said, "If you want to come along to the studio, just come along anytime you want." and listen to what we're doing. And I said, okay, I'll take you up on that. And I did. I would go along. One time I went along, it was just Linda sitting there. And she said, come and sit beside me. She said, have a look through this photograph book. And it was just photographs of them and their farm in Scotland. And I just felt so privileged to be sitting there. Another time I walked in, Paul was sitting on his own with his guitar. And he said, come, sit down, so friendly to me. Sit down. And we just started talking. And I said to him, I said, I've been playing Blackbird for years. I'm not sure if I've got the right inversions. And he picked up his guitar left-handed and he said, this is how you play it. And he was showing me how to play Blackbird. I just thought, I can't believe this is happening to me, my idol, doing this for me. Yeah, and I met him a few times after that, and it was always, hi, David, how are you doing? He met my wife as well, and he was very, very down to earth with both of us.
Good for you. Jimmy Page is another legend.
Jimmy Page, yeah, I got a call from, I think it was Dave Mattox, who's the drummer with Fairport Convention. He also did a few sessions with me. And in fact, he played on Elton John's Nikita as well. So Dave and I did quite a few sessions together. And Dave phoned me up and said, been offered a session with Jimmy Page. He said, it's for a film. And we're doing a soundtrack for Death Wish 2. Are you available to do it? I said, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. I was living in Edinburgh at the time. So I drove down to London to Jimmy's studio. And again, another nice, friendly, relaxed guy welcomed me and just gave me a free hand. He said, just play what you want to play. He said, and this was the first time I'd also played to visuals, so they would put up the visuals to the Death Wish 2. And we would watch the visuals, and he would play on his guitar. This is the music. It'll go like this, for this part here. And we'd watch it and say, okay, then. He said, it has to last. This section has to last 47 seconds. Okay, so it has to be very precise. So we would do it. We'd put the track together. And then he said, I'd like some sound effects. He says, can you think of something you can do with the bass for a sound effect? And I took a coin out of my pocket and just turned the volume up and I ran the coin up the bass string. So it was making a creepy noise. You just add a bit of reverb to that and then put a visual up and you hear this creepy noise and it went perfectly with the visual. I also read in one of the major rock magazines that he mentioned that session that I was doing with him. And he said, I worked with a great bass player. He used to play with the Bay City Rollers. And he was one of the best bass players I've worked with. And, I couldn't wipe the smile off my face thinking, that's Jimmy Page talking about me. It was great.
Yeah, man. Have you ever met Jaco Pastorius at all?
No, I wish I had. I have admired his playing. I've got his couple of solo albums. I can't play like that. I've tried to play like that. I can't. I don't have the speed to play like that. But I like to try and break it down and learn as much as I can and think, oh, what a great exercise that is, just to play stuff like that. It's way beyond me to be able to play to that level. I'm a melodic player. I'm a pop. I think pop all the time, popular. So, when I write my songs, it's catchy melodies. When I play my bass, I try and make the bass melodic as well. And it's not accomplished to the level of Jaco.
Yeah, the guy was out of this world. Everybody, I don't play music, but everybody who knows the guy who have played with, even Pat Metheny, have said that, there will never be another Jaco like Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo in soccer. It's
exactly
the people that are alive. Every every 50 years or something, you know. So
Yeah, he's a wonderful musician.
yeah. Let's talk about your solo work. I was able to listen to some of your stuff last night, and you know, the Passion Cry, Fragment, and Under the Sun, the Travel in 2020. Those are very good. So how you end up doing some solo work? I mean, eventually, right? With Pylon broke down, and you start playing as a session musician with all this famous band. You were kind of composing your own stuff, right? The day you were off, and you know, you were being on a bus too with Fish, and then a melody come to your mind, and I need to write it down, or you know, a chorus or a line. Feel free.
No, I wasn't thinking of songs for a long, long time.
Really?
I just concentrated on my playing and working with other musicians. There was no need for me to write songs. It wasn't until my father passed away that I did Passion's Cry, and that was in honor of my father, because he was as I said, he sang around the clubs in Scotland, and he sang songs that were composed in a Scottish style. So it was traditional Scottish songs that he sang, and that was my little tribute to my dad. And after I finished that album, and I realised how much I enjoyed putting songs together again, and that spurred me on, and I did an album called The Search, and I started to enjoy it. And when the internet came along, I suddenly had a way to sell my songs, instead of just writing songs just for the fun of it. I had a way of, and I realised, wow, there's still a collective audience out there that remember all the Pilot stuff. And although I didn't release any songs under the name of Pilot, they seemed to know who David Paton was and the Pilot connection. So, that just spurred me on to write more and more songs until I am where I am today. And I think I've released about 10 albums up till now.
That's right, yeah. And you were doing self-releases, or a record label pick you up and then to release it under somebody else?
I released them myself. Initially, when I did Fragments, that was with a Scottish record company. But after that, The Search, that was under my own record company. That's when I started to get things together for myself, having my own company and my own record label, and just doing everything myself. It seemed like such an uphill task to take on, but once you get into it, you realise you can accomplish all these things, especially if you get a manager involved. And I had a friend who became my manager. He lives in Atlanta, and he's still a friend to this day. He's helped me a lot with the business side of things.
Feel free to mention his name in case he end up.
His name is Kirk Keister.
Okay, yeah. I guess we will send the YouTube the link to. I'm going to upload it to the radio. I will send you a direct link to you as well and put in YouTube, so he can hopefully he can listen to that. And Communication is a great song. It's unbelievable, right? Let's say I didn't know that you have played with Alan Parsons, right? I suppose I wasn't aware of that. I listened to a song, and man, it's obvious that you are an integral part of the sound of Alan Parsons, because I of course it's obvious, right? So which is very good, man.
Well, thank you for that. I haven't actually released that. I've only just put it out on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
Not on an album. It's just on YouTube, and I just write all the time. Just now, I'm in the middle of other projects, so I'm not writing at the moment. But eventually, I'll pick up the writing again, and maybe Communication will be on my next album. I've just got too many things on at the moment.
Yeah, you're working in 2 other projects as well at the same. You have two things.
Well, it's mainly live stuff. I have some live gigs coming up in Scotland with some well-known Scottish musicians, not from the pop world, from the Edinburgh folk scene. Well, Scottish. It's we're actually doing a few concerts celebrating the life of Nancy Griffith, and it's about a lot of major Scottish artists are involved in the concert. So there's also my biography that I'm writing. That's so time consuming. And, I think I have something like 60,000 words at the moment. I'd like to increase that to 70,000 words. So I've got 10,000 more words to write before the end of August. And so I find myself going back to that. I should actually take a break and go up north somewhere and have a little cottage. And I've thought about doing that.
So the tour is just going to be in your country? No, in London or
Scotland, yeah.
How many gigs are you doing? When are you starting that?
Well, there's one big one planned for the Perth Concert Hall. That's at the end of this month, and then we'll see what goes on after that. I think there'll be more after that.
I mean, if you guys do well, then in August, September, So.
Yeah, I know. I've been asked to do this. I'm not playing bass, which is my main instrument. I'm playing lead guitar. So as well as learning songs, I've got a few solos to put together as well. So for me, that's a lot more work than learning the bass parts and learning the lead guitar. I'm also playing banjo
Wow.
and baritone guitar. So yeah, it's quite involved. There's about 20 songs. So it's quite involved learning all these songs as well.
Mm. You like going back and forth between bass and guitar?
I do. When I put together my solo albums, I like to play the guitar myself. Of course, if Ian was capable, I would ask him to do it. But as I say, he has dementia and he's had it now for 12 years. So he's well advanced in that area. So I do, and I did play guitar on all the first album with Pilot. It's me playing guitar on Magic. Ian plays the very intro, which was added later with Magic. With Magic, when I wrote it, it just had a piano and voice intro. There was no dynamic introduction, and we were just a 3-piece when we recorded it like that, and we played it to EMI, and they said, "Oh, you need to have a more dynamic introduction for this, for people to hear it and to grab their attention. We need a new introduction." By that time, Ian Bairnson had asked to join Pilot. So I said to him, "Why don't you play the introduction for the song?" And he did, and he's done a wonderful job. It's such a recognizable introduction. I'm really glad that we did spend the time in changing it and not oppose EMI's suggestion. So so Ian played the intro, I played the guitar solo and the end section. So initially I was a guitar player. When I was 11 years old, it was a guitar that I picked up. It wasn't until I was my early 20s that I picked up the bass and tried to emulate my hero, Paul McCartney. Maybe took it too far by becoming a bass player. But I still enjoy playing guitar a lot.
I got you. Beagle Hat also is another project that not many people know about. That it was a collaboration of song with a Japanese band, right? And feel free to. I think you end up working with them without even meeting the band. It was done to via internet. I mean, you send files back and forth and change this, change that.
Yeah, initially it was the internet. They messaged me from Japan and said, "We would like you to sing on one of our songs. It would, we'd be really pleased if you would do that." I said, "Okay, send me the song." So they sent me this song with no English lyrics. It was just Japanese. And they said to me, "Can you please translate to English?" I don't think they realized how big a task that was, because Japanese don't have words that rhyme. They don't have a line that rhymes with the next line. So I said, "Well, give me an idea what the song's about." So they told me it was about their hometown where they grew up and about going to school and all of it. All right, so I wrote the lyrics for that and I sang it and I sent it back to them and they said, "Oh, we really like it. You've made this song sound really, really good, and we like the English lyrics. Will you sing all the songs on the album?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." By that time, there was a record company involved, so it was more like a session for me.
Yeah.
So they sent me all the songs they had and said, will you contribute some of your own songs? I said, okay. And I thought this could be exciting because I thought, I can't think of any instances of a British artist doing an album with a Japanese band. And so I was quite excited about it. And the album was great to work on. It was always exciting to receive a new song from them. They say, translate this one and sing this one and just sing what you want. So there was a lot of freedom involved for me with that. I was living in Spain at the time in a place called Denia, and they came out to Denia to meet me. They stayed in a hotel and they stayed for a week. And we had a really enjoyable week together. It was nice working with them. And then eventually I did a tour of Japan with Pilot and met them again, and they supported us on the bill. And another album followed. We did a follow-up album, and I got more involved in that and given them more of my own songs. And now, because of contractual reasons, the guy that came up with the name Beagle Hat, he left the band, and he took the name with him and said, "You can't use the name. It's my name. You can't use it." So they had to find another name, and they came up with the name Sheep. Which is, well, it's quirky. It's good. So this new album, which has just been released in Japan, is called David Paton and Sheep, and it's called Melodies and Echoes. It's a really good album. I'm really, really delighted with it. It already topped the Amazon chart in Japan, and I think they had to repress it again. So, it's selling well in Japan. There's a big audience in Japan, and I hope I can go back there next year and perform Pilot songs and Sheep songs and Alan Parsons songs and do another tour.
You like going to Tokyo? You like going to Japan in general?
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, I like Tokyo, Osaka. I love Japan. Yeah. And I love the food. I love the culture. I love the gentleness of them. And I'd love to go back. I've been 3 times already and loved it each time I go.
Pilot was very popular there, right?
Yeah. It's not just an audience of people that remember us from the 70s. It's people that know us now, because magic gets played a lot everywhere, especially in America at the moment.
Of course, I know.
With Ozempic, I know what's happening with that. And they'll discover the albums and buy the albums, and they'll come to my site. And I'm delighted that we attract a younger audience as well. And as you see with Kate Bush, the young people are attracted to her now. They didn't know her music. And, the possibility is possible that the same thing could happen with Pilot music. It could get a resurgence. I don't know.
Are you still in touch with Kate Bush management and Alan Parsons management and all the people who have created that? They still call you back, hey, what are you doing? Are you working anything else? Or
no, not at all.
We need help with this or that?
No. The only one that keeps in touch with me is Elton John. I always get a Christmas card from Elton John. I'm happy about that. But Elton John was a very conscientious person. When he asked me to tour with him for a year, he said to me, "David, we're having a playback for the album. Will you bring your wife along to the studio?" I said, "Sure." Took my wife along. After the playback finished, he said, "I'd like to speak to the both of you." And he said to my wife, Mary, he said, "Are you okay with him going away for a year?" He said, "Of course, you're welcome to join us anytime on the tour, but," he said, "it will be a year." My wife said, Take him, he's going to love it."
For you, yeah. two things. Some wife will say, no, it's too long. And then from a musician point of view, there's no two people like Elton John that will tell you it's going to take a year, it's going to be hard. I'm telling you right now, his money is going to be good. Don't worry about the money, but it's going to be a big sacrifice, And
yeah, it was a big wrench away from home. But you're with Elton John and a lot of people that are really, really good people. You're really well looked after. You're meeting icons, through every gig. There was somebody there that was, a big icon. And Elton was so kind and conscientious. He made a point of introducing us to every major person that he felt we'd like to meet, like Rod Stewart as well, loads of people, not only rock stars, but people from the tennis world or writers or, anything, just actors especially.
In that book that you write, your autobiography, you need to include all those pictures that of people that you had met. I don't know if you want to do that, but I would would do like a photography book and then do a written book. Are two different things. Here's with Lady Diana or this or that.
It's a thing I never did. I regret that. I never did much of that at all.
No, yeah. Looking back in your career, you're still very young. Is any artist that you wish you to have played? Well, I admire, Pat Metheny or David Sylvian or wherever, that you wish have had the opportunity to work. I mean, you have done a lot. You have played with the best of the best, so you cannot complain, man. It just
yeah, they're all dead now. I'd love to have worked with Prince.
Prince, yeah.
I loved Prince. I loved his musicality. But that's not going to happen. Or John Lennon.
Yeah. You mentioned Prince. I have seen so many shows in my life. As I mentioned before, I see between 40 and 50. I'm going to see Steely Dan tonight again. And I have seen so many bands, but there are three groups that I regret not seeing them. Prince was one. George Michael was another one. Okay. And then David Bowie, of course. All of them passed away, unfortunately. Prince was living here in the United States, but he didn't do the much. George Michael didn't come to the United States that often. And David Bowie, he didn't play that much here, mostly in Europe. And unfortunately, I never saw them. I wish, I had the opportunity to go. I have seen a lot of it, but those three names are kind of important to me.
But George Michael sang with Elton when we did Live Aid.
Really? Yeah. My God.
So it was nice to meet him. And while we were in rehearsal, I was sitting at my bass amp and I saw George walking towards me. And I thought, oh my goodness, he's coming over. He wants to talk to me. And he came over and he said, David, I just want you to know, January meant a lot to me. He said, I must have played that 100 times. I said, thank you very much, George. Appreciate that.
Man, for being a shy kid, lad, like they call it, you get to introvert kid, to the wanted to do a studio work. Now look back, man, 50 years later, you have met everybody with somebody in the music world, and you have played with everybody in town and traveled to every major airport and city in the world, man. Stay in all different kind of hotel. You have a very good life, man. You gotta be very grateful, man. So
these are perks of the job.
Yeah, but when you earn it, you were good at what you do. There's nothing wrong with that, And I have met several musicians that are very different like you, David, because they were popular like you, right? I don't want to mention any names. I don't want to get sued, but they're very arrogant. They don't use and they are not reachable, and they are crazy people. I don't know. It's good to be famous, good to be well known, make money, and nothing wrong with that. But some of them have crazy personality. They are very crazy. They're very, I don't know. I don't want to use the right word here, but the correct word here. But they're not good human beings. So arrogant.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that. In people when they have success. I've seen personalities change because of success. It's quite sad to see. It's quite immature, really.
But they don't recognize where they came from. You know, they won't go back to the flame, the kids that used to play soccer with them on the street corner when they were 12, 14 years old. You know, and it's not good to be like that. You know, we need to go back to where you came from and help them in your community, whatever is important to you. You know, if you have done be successful in your life, is nothing wrong with that. It's something wrong with you if you don't do anything else, right? So keep the money after 10 houses, like Elton John, 10 cars, 10 homes, a plane, whatever. If that's the only thing you can accomplish in your life, maybe something for you, you know. You need to do the right thing in life, help out and those. Man, I have so many questions to ask you, but I know we've been, you know, talking for 2 hours, David, and I know you have a book that you're writing, and you need to go back to your life and you know, and learn all the track for the coming tour as well. So it was very nice talking to you. Hopefully, when you have the time, we can do like a part 2 and you know, cut the time, because I enjoy talking to you. You're a very good, decent human being, and I try to cover all your career. So, hey, maybe when you're, you know, going back in your autobiography, maybe, I remember talking to Claudia. I want to listen to the video again, because I remember that I mentioned that. I need to put in the book. So if I help you a little bit, you know, recalling some memory of yours, man, and it was a pleasure. And when you see Ian also, you know, I have a very good opinion of him as well. Unfortunately, you know, maybe one day I will meet him or not when I go in your country. But it was very nice talking to you. Say hello to your wife, Ian. I will bring you when we meet up. We'll bring some Chilean wine and we'll get some dinner or something. And I have a lot of vinyl CDs that I want for you to sign for the.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah,
it was very nice, David. Good luck to you, and feel free to reach out when you have time. We can do a part 2 of this.
Okay, Claudio. Nice talking to you.
Same here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.